Hi, my name's Nicole Dambro, and I work for Commercial Capital Limited Florida, aka ComCap Florida. And today I'm here with Mr. Bob Dolan, a business broker in the South Florida area. Hi, Bob. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for everybody who's not acquainted with you yet?
Okay, I grew up in Anaheim, California, when there was nothing out there but orange groves, and then Disneyland came and everything changed. Um, I've traveled around the country, lived in different parts of the country, up in the Northeast, in Texas, Atlanta, Tampa, a number of places, and it gives you perspective then as how things are done differently in different parts of the country. Started in franchising a company called Sir Speedy Printing, which was a Newport Beach, California company, and started in that point in selling businesses, selling the franchises, and it went on that once we got them open, I'd teach them how to sell. I'd take them by the hand and take them out and show them what you got to do to get business in.
Right.
And that just evolved to managing groups of, at one point, he became my mentor actually of 45 years. That he owned the rights to be the Florida State franchisor, and we opened up 80 of them, and it was wonderful. But through the process, I realized that I needed more things to sell than just one, because if something were to happen to that one, I'm cooked, as happened during the financial meltdown. And so I guess it was in the early 2000s, got my broker's license. You have to be a real estate, you have to have a real estate license to sell businesses in the state of Florida. And I got that, and I got my broker's license. Realizing that I do a lot of larger transactions, figured that out pretty early, that's where you can make more money, is in selling bigger transactions. It just I get up at 3:15 every morning, and
Wow.
I'm an early morning person and get a lot done in the early morning. I work really hard at what I do, and I love it. I really enjoy helping people and the relationships with people as it goes on. And I guess that a quick snippet of what I do. People say, well, what kind of businesses do you specialize in? I says, I really don't specialize in. There's some businesses I don't really chase after a lot, and that would be gas stations and beauty salons and those kind of businesses that I found them to be problematic, and so I just and medical home health care, where you have to comply with, it's a government agency called ACA, which is just a royal, very difficult people to do business with. So other than that, though, I sell anything that's making money is basically where we're at.
Yes, and that's astonishing that you wake up at 3:15 in the morning, because you know what? Whatever works for you, Mr. Dolan, because you have a reputation that, for those who know you, we know that you work very hard and you're exceptional at what you do. So with that being said, what would you say sets you apart, besides waking up at 3:15 in the morning, sets you apart from other business brokers? What's your secret sauce?
I answer the phone. I return phone calls. Amazingly. You call on. I don't do a lot co-brokerage, but I do some, and it just amazes me how people don't return their phone calls, or takes them days to get back to you. And so that, and I do what I say I'm going to do. My mentor taught me that early on, is just do what you say you're going to do, more than what's expected of you, and you'll be fine. Everything else will take care of itself, and it has. So other than that, and I'm pretty good with computers and databases, and keeping track of everything and following up, and is I think really important.
Yes. Is there anything differently that you do in terms of the way that you list your businesses?
I take pride in preparing the ad and putting some thought into it, and not just slapping something up and getting it, going, and in the packaging of the business, getting all the pieces together that a person will need to consider to consider buying the business, and rather than typically what you find in some brokers is that they just put a bunch of files together in and just email them to you. Whereas I take for the larger transactions, I hire out a professional to make it's called a SIM, or an offering memorandum, and that really sets me apart, because everybody else is just, not everybody, but a lot, just slap it together and to get it out there.
So, in terms of business brokerage, what are the trends that you've been seeing in the market lately here in 2023?
Well, the biggest and most exciting thing is that a lot of the baby boomers are finally coming to market. I had hoped they would have started a long time ago, but I think what happened during the COVID period is that everybody was making a lot of money. There's some aggravation, because there's always a certain amount of aggravation in owning a business, but it was tolerable, but they're making good money. And after COVID, they said, I'm out of here. I'm not going to put up with this any longer. So a lot of really high quality businesses are coming to market that before they were just sitting there and just taking in the cash, but now it's not the money anymore. It's just I went out.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a reorganization of priorities ever since COVID. It's really taught us about what we want for our lives, and that's great that they're able to, put their businesses up for sale and cash out
Cash
on.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what else that happened, particularly in the past year or so, is when I started working very closely. I'd worked with your company with one particular fellow, been a long, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so, but recently had it was large is relative, but it was like a $7-8 million transaction that as we got into it, there were challenges, and most bankers, when they get into bumps in the road, what they do is they don't want to mess with it. They just say, I'm sorry, we can't do it. Can't decline. It won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas working with your bank, I can tell you that this transaction would not have happened if it wasn't for your bank helping me. They kept pushing and trying to look for another way to make it happen, and that's what made the difference and made the sale. And it was a nice commission. I'm thankful for it.
Nice. Yes, Dave and Jim, they just really have the experience to know what they're doing, and they really care.
And the buyers appreciate that. Everybody appreciates it. Just that most of the time,
Yes.
I can't tell you that the deal that we got funded, it was rejected. I don't know, within a week or so with a bank. They just some baloney of an excuse that why they couldn't do it, but they said no, we can make this happen, and they did, and I'm thankful.
Yeah. We are so thankful that you came to us to assist you in this deal, to find a solution. And one of the things that I know was also an issue was this was a sizable SBA loan, and the SBA has maximums, and it was just outside of the maximum, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
No, how to dance around to make it to comply with the rules, but to get it done, and they did.
Right. That takes
And that's where
teamwork.
your larger banks, they just say, sorry, can't do it.
Right.
They're, all the time they're changing people around to where as you're into the deal pretty deep, and that person goes and another person comes in, you got to start all over again, and that's not the case with Dave. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We loved working with you as well. How many banks do you think that they went to, and how many lenders before finally getting this deal to stick?
I don't know. A lot.
A
A
lot.
lot, a number of them. And
Yeah.
I don't think it was so much the number of banks, although there were some. It was just trying to figure out how to comply with the rules and with what we had to work with and to get it done. So it was just coming up with ideas on different ways to handle it that made the difference. It wasn't so much to go to different banks. It was just having the experience to know that there's different ways to skin the cat, and we did.
And you know, one thing that we pride ourselves in also is that that doesn't stop just at the qualification step of the deal. We like to carry that service all the way through, that teammate mentality all the way through, so that we could close the deal. So we're hoping that in the future, with other clients that you may bring to us, that we could provide them with that same white glove service.
Yeah, there was another transaction that just closed a week or so ago. It was a gal. I have no idea. She was a younger gal, but she was a little short on cash, and they searched around for a bank that liked doing business with women, and so they cut her a little slack to make the deal happen. And that was $1 million transaction, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Dave's tenacious keep going after it.
We loved working with that client because that client was so fast to send us all the documents that we needed and
Yeah,
was
yeah,
ready for next steps. Ugh,
yeah.
we loved working with her. We
Yeah.
wish her all the success. Going back to before, you said that I'm guessing you've known Jim Rohr for about 15 years, you said?
About 15 or so, I'd say.
So in those 15 years, how many times did you work with Jim?
We drifted apart, just circumstances.
Sure.
I probably talked with him over, a half a dozen or so transactions, I would guess.
How long would you say the gap was between the last time you talked to him and bringing him this first
Back
deal?
into the fold, it was a couple
Yeah,
years.
a couple
Yeah,
years.
yeah. And I think he called me, as a matter of fact, and one of my customers had we tracked down, and it's funny how relationships go and connecting and so forth. I don't remember how we reconnected again, but I'm sure glad we did.
But this was your first time meeting Dave through Jim.
Yes. We started with the sport fishing guy did charters,
Mm-hmm.
and the piece of land that he had was on it was on the Intracoastal, which is a major north-south waterway in South Florida, and he had a commercial license docking for commercial fishing, which is very unusual, and it is a very valuable piece of land, and that was just there's all kinds of things we had to deal with to get clear title on the land. It was
Oh, yeah.
more of yeah, and that's where they helped out a lot.
Do you plan on working with ComCap Florida again in the future?
Every chance. They're the first call.
Thank you so much for saying that. And lastly, what piece of advice would you give other business brokers who want to have the kind of success that you've had so far this year? Wake up at
Work
3:15
hard.
a.m.
Work hard. There's no magic. There's no magic. It's just I was listening to Musk the other day, and he was just talking to people about what it takes to be successful and so forth. And he says, he used a little profanity. I mean, you work hard. That's what you got to do. Is you got to work hard. You got to work at it, and you got to figure out how to get better at what you do, and not just take for granted what's coming down the pike. And I don't know how to say profession, but don't piss people off. It's probably one of them, at all costs, and do whatever you got to do to make the customer happy. I'm selling a roofing company right now in Vero. It's they net about $1 million a year, so it's a nice size roofing company.
Mm-hmm.
And doing the due diligence phase of it, there were some refunds. They said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, if a customer, if they're doing something and the customer's not happy, they just return the money. That's all. There's no questions. Just return the money." And they have all 5-star ratings on Google, and nobody else, none of the other roofers focus on the reviews. And I find it myself, is it probably the most important thing that you have in all advertising is Google
Yes.
reviews. Is that if you don't have that, then it'll be challenging.
One thing that we didn't cover, we've talked about starting the finance process when you have a client who's ready to buy. But you also reach out to ComCap Florida for when you take on a company that's ready to sell, to look at their financials and check other things
Sure.
like that, right?
Get them pre-qualified. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's an important. It's not. I know pre-qualification is really not, because they're really not pre-qualified, but they take a look at it and see that it looks like this. We could do this alone, and that's an important thing. It takes a little bit more time. It's important, depending upon the transaction. It will help sell the business if you are pre-qualified, because the person knows then they're not going to spend a lot of time on it, and then they can't get it financed. That's the advantage of it.
Yeah. And I know that we offer complimentary pre-qualifications, so
Yeah.
we don't charge
Within
anything
a day
to
or
take a
so.
look.
Within a day or two, most of the time
Within a day or two. Thank you for adding that in, because that is different than most lenders, right?
Oh yeah. If they'll even do it at all, or they grunt and groan about it, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We definitely try to take a look at those things and help our business brokers out, because you guys are wonderful to work with, especially you, Mr. Dolan. You are on top of your stuff, so.
Thank you. I think probably the most important thing is what my mentor taught me, is just do what you say you're going to do. That's what I'm probably most known for, is that if I say I'm going to do it for you, I do it. I get it done. I make it happen, whatever it takes.
What can we as ComCap Florida do to enhance your experience as a business broker moving forward? And be honest.
No, I will. I'm a straight talker. I tell people when I start dealing with them, if you don't like straight talk, I'm not the guy. I'm not going to paint you blue sky and then you're discouraged, or it doesn't. What's the word? You're controlling your expectations. It's important. So, there really isn't. I can't think of anything that, honestly, that I would suggest, or Dave always gets back to me within I'd say fast to reasonable period of time. And he returns phone calls, which is a huge, and just keeps me informed as to what's going on, so I know what I need to do to keep everything moving in the right direction. And that probably more than anything is super, super important, is keep me informed as to what's going on. Is really important.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you.